Hey. Welcome back to Yoga with Paige. I am super excited for today. It is my first time being able to try out my new big mat here. I have been getting a few questions about this mat that I use, usually underneath my regular grippy mat. Today we'll just be using this because today's class is just a tutorial on Sun Salutation A, or Surya Namaskar A. Namaskar, pronounced that wrong. So I will have a discount code for you in the description if you are interested in padding your space like I do. I find it really, really nice. My knees never ever really hurt when we're doing a lot of like low lunges and things on my knees because I have this, and then I have one of my mats on top of it. So thank you to our little sponsor for this video, and I will show you a little clip of the brand here. And like I said, the discount code is in the bottom if you're interested in padding your stuff as well. I highly recommend. Love it. But today we are, like I said, talking about Sun Salutation A, the way to properly move through each pose, the alignment of each pose, some helpful tips to help you foster this mind-body connection, because we want to connect our motion with our breath. And then we also want to find some mental and physical connection. Sun salutations are used in so many different kinds of yoga practices. They are a very foundational way to move and warm up the entire body. It is forward bending, backward bending. We're finding strength in the abdominals, strength in the back, strength in the legs. So it really ramps up the energy, which is why they are great for morning. But honestly, any time of day you can practice sun salutations. They also help with coordination and balance, flexibility, and strength. Like I said, we activate a lot of these muscles, and we will go more in depth in just a minute here and find out where you're supposed to be activating in each pose. So all you need today for this class is a yoga mat, and whenever you have one ready to rock and roll, we can get started. So we begin our first sun salutation standing in mountain pose, Tadasana. So our feet, we can either have them hip distance apart, which is the way that I practice. Otherwise, we can also have our big toes together and have our feet together. So it depends on what feels better in your body, because your body is different anatomically than everybody else's body. So kind of maybe practice one way and then practice the other way, see which way feels better to you, or if you already know which way you prefer. So I'm going to keep my feet hip distance apart, and we begin drawing a line of energy up through the legs. We slightly tuck in the tailbone, so we're already kind of connecting to the core here. So draw the navel into the spine to help you slightly tuck in the tailbone, and we lift up. So we have basically a big long line of energy coming up through the crown of the head. Our arms are by our sides, palms face forward. This is the beginning posture of our sun salutation. And then on your inhale, because we're matching breath with movement, we want to reach the arms up, but being careful not to hunch the shoulders like this. We want space in between the shoulders and the ears. So we take the shoulders a little bit down, kind of back into the socket. And then rotate your hands. They were palms facing forward. Now we rotate our hands so our palms kind of face each other, pinkies out. This will help you keep a little bit of activation in your arms, and you won't be hunching over. So shoulders down, pinkies forward, keeping that slight little tuck of the tailbone. We inhale. And on your exhale, we forward fold. So we can either send the arms out to the sides as we dive down, or we can keep palms together and kind of help yourself trace a little line as you forward fold. So we're hinging from the hips. We want to keep a nice flat back. And at this point, a lot of people will need to bend their knees in our forward fold. So if we have really, really tight hamstrings, the backs of the legs, we don't want this rounding effect. We want a nice long spine, even in our forward fold. So if you start to feel really tight here or you need to round, that's when you bend your knees. So bend your knees a little bit, and there's no shame in that. There is no shame. We modify these positions as we need. So we're here in our forward fold, kind of letting everything hang. And then on your inhale, we lift up halfway. So let the fingertips lift. They can stay on the mat if we have a nice long spine here, if that's accessible to you. Otherwise, they can start to travel up the legs. Our goal here is to send the hips back, the head forward, so we have a nice long extension in the spine. You want to gaze down at the floor. If you gaze up like this, it breaks the extension from the tailbone to the head. Your neck is an extension of your spine. It is the cervical spine. So when we're in our halfway lift, we want to reach the shoulders back again. Send the hips back. We're really, really grounding with the toes here. So really grip the mat with the toes as you reach the head forward. And we can still keep a slight bend in the knees in this position as well. We don't want to lock our knees or our elbows. So we're here in a halfway lift. Big inhale. And then when you exhale, we fold again. But this time, we plant the hands down. We step one foot back and the other, coming into a nice high plank. So plank pose, we want our wrists underneath our shoulders, and we want to really, really, really engage the core here. So if we don't have our core engaged, we're kind of doing one of these, which is very dangerous for your lower back. So as you draw the navel in, it will help you to lift the hips, and you'll notice a slight fullness in the lower back, if you will. Because as you draw the navel in, it helps you to slightly tuck in that pelvis, which is protecting your lower back. So find a lot of space in between the fingers here as you grip down through the mat, really grip through the fingers, gazing right in between your hands, because like I said, again, this neck position is an extension of the spine. So we're here. And then with control, we want to bend the elbows, taking a chaturanga. And we can always modify if we need to, coming on the knees. So from our plank pose, we can always drop down on the knees and take our next position from the knees as well. I wanted to make sure I get that in there. So chaturanga, grip through the fingers, slowly bring the elbows in towards the sides. You want the elbows in by the ribs as you lower down, kind of almost try to tap your nose to the mat. And then we can release the body, untuck the feet, come press through, inhale. Press through the hands to lift the chest. So we can come into a little cobra pose where we're active in the legs. We have an option to do Sphinx instead. This is a more mild heart opener, pressing through the hands. Or we can come into an upward facing dog where we are on the tops of the toes, the tops of the feet still connected to the core. And we have our spine nice and long. So we're still kind of gazing at the floor. We're not gazing up here because that breaks our line of straightness. So we are up here. Remember to not lock the elbows, especially if you have some not weird, I didn't mean to say weird, like hypermobility. I have a little bit in my elbows, so I am constantly having to remind myself to not lock my elbows and keep a slight little bend in my elbows. So if you're like me, keep a slight little bend in your elbows. You'll feel a nice big strength in the tops of your shoulders. And then on your next exhale, we begin to send the hips up, really press through the hands, roll over the toes, and then untuck them, coming into a nice downward facing dog. And my hands are a little slippery here because I'm sweaty. So I'm going to grab a little blanket. One moment. I have some sweaty hands. I'm a sweaty hand girl. So this thing has a little bit of grip. All right, so we're in our downward facing dog. Our goal here, remember to not lock the elbows again. So not locking the elbows, really grip through the fingers, press away from the mat. So helping yourself to send the hips up. So we want our biceps by the ears. We want our head hanging like in between the arms. Our goal is to get the heels down on the ground, but most of the time this isn't feasible, and that's fine. It's just what helps me in downward facing dog is a visualization. So I'm visualizing sending my head forward down, visualizing sending my hips up and my heels down into the ground. So as we're here, I'm picturing pushing my head towards my hands. I'm picturing sending my hips up to the sky, getting a nice stretch in the backs of the legs. And then I'm also trying to send energetically my heels down into the mat. So we're really pressing away, drawing the navel into the spine still as you send your chest down towards the legs. Nice big breaths. And if you need a little help here, we can always bend the knees a little bit if your legs are a little tight, or if it just doesn't feel good. We can always keep a little bend in the knees and modify like that if you need to. So then we gaze at the hands and gently begin to walk up. So there are many ways you can travel to the top of the mat. You can kind of heel toe it like that. You can obviously just kind of plump your way up. You can engage your Mula Bandha. Bend the knees, inhale, and hold your breath, and then with control and trying to land softly, jump up in between the hands. And kind of land like in a little frog position. So any way you want to travel to the top of the mat. And then here, we forward fold again. We halfway lift on the inhale. And then forward fold. Exhale. And inhale, we stand back up, coming back into our mountain pose to repeat it all over again. So we'll do a few together. We'll go a little bit slower. I will cue you to inhale and exhale, and then we'll kind of pick up the pace. Let's just do a few together so we can get the feeling of this in our bodies and start to give ourselves time to learn how to match motion with breath. Over time, over practice, consistency, this will start to just happen automatically. And you will notice if you use the wrong breath at a certain time, it will make the pose more difficult. So truly moving with your breath really allows you to get in and out of poses more safe. And you can get in and out of poses deeper if using the right breath. So we will stand here at the top of the mat, mountain pose. Inhale, reach the arms up, keep the shoulders down. And exhale, forward fold your version. Listen to your body. Inhale, halfway lift, reach the crown of the head forward, finding a nice long spine, gaze down. And then exhale, fold, plant the hands, gently step back into your nice high plank. And then on your exhale, tuck the elbows in, slowly lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, take your version, whether it be cobra, sphinx, or upward facing dog. And then exhale, roll over the toes, keep that core engaged, send the hips up, downward facing dog. Gaze at the hands, travel to the top of the mat. And inhale, halfway lift, let the fingertips float up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, we stand up nice and tall. And then exhale, bring the hands to heart center. I always love to find a little check-in here in mountain pose with my hands connected. I feel a lot of connection there. So take a moment, notice how that felt. Maybe notice if you did something a little bit differently than you're used to when you've been practicing your sun salutations, and if it made it easier for you. I would love to know how this goes for you in the comments below, and if you have any more questions. So we can flow through another little sun salutation together, and we can just move with our breath. So peek at me if you need to. Maybe we'll do 2 of them. And let's just get rocking and rolling. Let's boost this energy, this vitality. Beautiful. meeting in mountain pose. Whenever you are finished with your sun salutation, don't rush. Find that nice sense of flow in your own body, and we'll take one more. Maybe make this one a little bit more expressive or try a different way to dive down. But just enjoy this feeling of flow. And we can meet in a nice grounded mountain pose whenever you have completed your Surya Namaskar. I hope this helped clear up some questions that we might have had about the alignment of some of these poses, how to match our motion with our breath. And like I said, feel free to drop any questions you might still have below. I do have a few tutorials on some of these postures, so I will link those classes below as well, where we really dive deeper into modifications, the alignment, the benefits of each of these postures. So be sure to check those out if you want to keep learning and keep growing. And as always, I thank you so much for joining me here on Yoga with Paige, and I look forward to the next time we meet. Have a blessed rest of your day, my friend.